For those of you who haven't been on before, my name is Jon Tweed from Wise. We'll do a half-hour session today. I've got Matt Latham, Business Development Director, with me from Just. And we're going to have a look today at a wide ranging, really. We talk about Just and what they're doing and where they are, but we'll look at some of the products as well. And there is one thing at the end, we will have a look. We're launching an exclusive exactly at this moment. I was told by our product team at 11:01 there's an exclusive coming on our platform. We'll talk a little bit about that. But as you say, these, as you see from all of them, they're not a sales pitch. It's trying to add value for you in these strange times, which hopefully we'll be out of sooner rather than later. So if I could ask everybody to make sure we're muted, which I think we are. Ideally, if we could turn the video off. I'm still going from George's idea last week, which helps us with bandwidth, apparently. So that would be very useful. But let's go straight into welcoming Matt. Matt, thanks for your time today. Very much appreciated. Matt, as I said, is Business Development Director for Just. So interesting times for you, Matt, as a lender.
Very interesting times for everyone, isn't it, really? I think we all have to take a step back every now and again and actually pat ourselves on the back for adapting to the challenging times that we see around us. So it's very interesting times. It has been a challenge and one, it's been quite interesting. It's been hard work, John, as I know you'll know this, having to do with all the lenders that you do deal with. It has been hard work for everyone, but it's challenging for customers, advisors, lenders, solicitors, valuers, and we've all had to adapt to different barriers in the marketplace to keep things running. Yeah,
so I suppose that's a good starting point, Matt, for me with the question is how adjust as a group, how you would. What changes you're making, and we will talk, we'll talk about the topical one at the moment. We'll talk about desktops in a moment, but how are you changing? How are you and your business development guys? How are you changing the way you're working and interacting with the most important part as alongside the customer is our advisors?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think for us in Just and my colleagues and my field sales colleagues, we were taken off the road fairly early. So I think this is the end of our 8th week now. So we were taken off the road. I think it was March the 16th. Now, ultimately, as a lender and provider of financial services products, we deal with clients or our customers are in the later life sphere. So from age 55 through to mid 80s. So at the end of the day, our customers, the IFA or equity release specialists, are dealing with the vulnerable clients or the clients that are in a high risk area. So we were taken off the road fairly early to protect staff, which I'm actually really, really proud of, to protect advisors and to protect the end customer. So that was really, really good. But of course, that's just the first part of the journey of adapting to this new life. Within about 7 days, we had 700 colleagues with the ability of being able to work from home. So our IT department, and I'm not sure you'll hear this from anyone else, and I'm not even sure the words are coming out of my mouth if they're going into my ear properly, but I'm proud of our IT department to have built 500 plus laptops to enable 700 plus colleagues to be able to work from home in a relatively short amount of time has been quite an exceptional thing for us. So within a very short space of time, we were at the point where we were running at almost full capacity. So that was the first thing. We then start looking at, well, now we're able to work, what do we need to do to make sure that we're comfortable with the types of business we've got coming in, and what other things do we need to adapt to make sure that we can keep transacting for our customers, the advisor, and then for their customers, the consumer. So we had to review all our processes, and that goes from paperwork, that goes to any other areas where there are barriers. So as far as paperwork are concerned, editable applications, just things that is as simple as that. You'll know, I'm sure, more than aware of the Equity Release Council having to review their guidance or necessity for legal face-to-face as well. Now, we did help with that, as a number of other lenders were, but I think we were fairly keen to help and ensure that actually the market could still work. I mean, the one thing that we can say about this is there was a lot of need before COVID-19 to release assets from your property wealth. COVID-19 hasn't actually changed that. And in fact, in some degree, I think we'll find that there will be more need for people to access their property wealth at some point in the future. We then had to deal with valuations, as you've mentioned already. And, you know, as soon as valuations started to turn off, I mean, of course, we have to protect clients in the higher risk area. And by definition, 55 plus is going to put a lot of clients within that high risk area. So we had to protect them. And we had to think of the health issues concerning both them and the valuers themselves. So we've had to change a number of different things to try and keep ourselves working and the market working. And I will say as well, I think it's important that all lenders have the ability of working very well. A competitive market is really, really good for the end consumer.
No, I absolutely agree. We need to, you know, and there has been some significant changes and fairly quick changes. And I know there's obviously pressures and constraints, and we'd all like it to be probably working differently. But as you say, I agree from the legal viewpoint that we've looked at previously, and from the, you know, from the valuation side, and you know, I think there's been some major changes to try and keep the market moving, and it's making as best of an opportunity as we can in the situation we're in. I think. Okay, so that takes us on to, you know, it probably is one of the biggest issues at the moment. This is the desktop valuations. So yeah. I think we'd be interested, you know, I'm sure, you know, via our COVID live feed, and, you know, we put your up-to-date details on there of what changes you're making, and I'm sure there'll be more changes going forward with all the lenders. Could you talk us through the desktop? I think the changes, process, and then that'd be very interesting. I think your take as a lender on that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I will add as well. So to a large degree, changes have happened across all of the market from all lenders, but they have had slight nuances that will differ from lender to lender. So has that meant that we've made the advisor's job very easy, or advice-wise? I mean, Jane Hanlon, as we all know at Advice-wise, is one of the sage of the marketplace. If anyone knows everyone's criteria, it is her. So for Jane to have kept up with all the different changes is quite a feat, because there are slight differences. But I think it's probably wise just to look at the very start of this. So when the restriction on valuations being able to be conducted face-to-face for a full physical valuation came in, then all lenders had to investigate what alternatives there were to keep their product flowing and the market open. So what was possible and what information could we get back from those solutions? Desktop valuations really were the only solution that could provide most of the information that we would have been able to get from a full physical valuation. So that was really the main solution. We then looked at what information that would provide for us. So a desktop valuation can only give you some of the information that you need. You've then got things like Google, and Google will enable you to have a look at the overall picture of the property itself and actually scan back to see if there are any surrounding issues that may come up. So for instance, retail, commercial, things like that. And we ourselves, when we implemented our desktop valuation, we actually added an additional property questionnaire. And the additional property questionnaire is completed by the client. The client will sell us some basic and confirm some basic house details: number of bedrooms, number of reception rooms, number of bathrooms, kitchens. They would confirm for us whether any alterations have been done, because of course a desktop valuation wouldn't necessarily be able to provide you with that kind of detail. So we have asked the consumer to help out and provide us some additional information. And I have to say, I think that's been very well received by both advisors and the consumer. We've had no issues on that. And it certainly gives us more confidence when we're making decisions based on the information at hand. But there is still a risk, obviously, if you have reduced information on a desktop valuation to compared with a full physical val. So we've had to amend our lending criteria and amend what properties we now would deem as acceptable. So we've had to make these changes, I suppose, to counteract the reduced access that we have to properties. We're still looking at where we are. I think the market it seems like it's starting to settle down, certainly from my point of view and the feedback I've had from the advisors I deal with. And I think that what's happened now is we'll find lenders will start to have they'll have the comfort of saying, okay, we know where we are now, things have started to settle down, and we'll probably still need to review and tweak things to make sure that we're giving our clients, who are the advisor and the equity release specialist, the right products and the right proposition, and the consumer the right proposition. So I think there still will be some changes to come, but right now we've made changes. Details are on the website, and Jane Hanlon obviously is more than aware of these changes. But yeah, we have made some changes just to make sure the flow is still going.
Just picking up on one of those points, the property questionnaire, and perhaps a lot of you know this, but I don't. What stage does that get sent out? Does that, the application comes in and then is that sent out at that stage to the customer?
That should really, I suppose, go to the client with the application pack when they're completing it. So of course we have an editable application,
right?
We have a questionnaire as a separate document as well, which is completed by the client, and they would just send that back with the application. Then when we instruct the desktop valuation, the valuer is able to consider all the information that they are going to obtain, as well as that additional property questionnaire. And that will give us, and certainly has given us, much more comfort, and we're more confident to make the positive decisions that you guys need for your customers.
Okay, great. $1 million question. So desktops, how are they going?
I think,
and I'm talking from a business viewpoint, you know.
Well, I think to date they're going quite well, and it's all been very well received. And we were one of the first people to actually launch a desktop valuation process. And so the more lenders that came into the market, the more competitive that market is, the more comfort advisors will have that they are able to still access the right products for their customers. But I think at the end of the day, what we've had back has been broadly what we were expecting to have back. So we haven't had any major issues from valuations coming back so far. You will still have customers who have a slightly higher opinion of their property value than maybe a valuer would. And that's been natural through all time spans. Forgetting COVID-19 and the current environment, I think most people, the overvaluation of someone's property is quite a natural thing for some people. So yeah, no, so far to date, desktop valuations have been very well received, very well serviced. And I think it was a really good step to make sure the market was still open and people were still able to transact. Because I think what we are finding now is ultimately, and I think I mentioned earlier, I think we're finding now that there will be more need for releasing property wealth coming up. If you look at what's happened, and you'll look at the potential for people who are just about to retire, if they weren't in the right pension funds, they could have seen reductions of their pension funds of 20-25%. Now that would have a dramatic impact on your retirement lifestyle. So equity release lifetime mortgage is going to be more important. You'll then have those people who have been maybe potentially furloughed, or actually family. So your customers might have family that have been furloughed. And what the desktop valuation does do is it gives still access to helping you release that wealth from your property at the point where you really do need it the most. Excellent.
Thanks, Matt. Moving on then from Proces, and sorry, everybody, I should have said, you know, as normal in these, if you've got any questions, just throw them onto web chat, and we can talk about those later if there's anything you have. Just in general then, Matt, how are you working? Because obviously we've, you know, lenders and solicitors and the council have worked very hard to make sure we can keep the market moving in these extraordinary times. So, you know, and we're all touching wood that, you know, sooner rather than later we'll be coming out of this, and let's hope it's sooner, in safe ways, obviously. So we've got to start putting one eye on considering, you know, it's still on the business generation side. So How are you working with the advisors on that side, financial advisors and of all ilks? And that is a bit of a loaded question, because Matt and myself have talked a little bit about various workshops, and we will be doing one probably in the next 4 or 5 weeks on vulnerability, and you know, and also looking at opportunities. And I mean, opportunity for vulnerability, that's the wrong word, obviously, the wrong sentence, but it's just looking at how we work with the customers, and looking at some of your other programs you've got in place.
Yeah, well, I think the first point is actually being open and transacting is one thing. Equity release specialists, mortgage writers, and independent financial advisors still need that support. And we as a firm, I think, have we do pride ourselves on the service and support that we offer, and that will not just be the service of administration, of which we are very proud. I think we've got 13 5-star service awards for our lifetime mortgage. We've got 15 consecutive years worth of 5-star service awards for our life and pensions business. And last year, actually, we were awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award for our service. So service has always been paramount to what we do. And part of that service to our advisors is making sure that we are able to support them in business, and to hopefully drive up their knowledge, their experience, and their ability to satisfy their clients with more financial products. So as far as service is concerned, we did have a round of equity release development workshops, our Equity Release Academy, that were due to happen recently. They had to be rescheduled. And I will say AdviceWise were very helpful in trying to promote that, or promoting that for us at the time, but they've been rescheduled till September. I do have some dates, and there will be times from that. So from the 1st to the 17th of September, there's a number of different programs where we will help advisors who have client banks who maybe not got the experience of being able to service that client bank with lifetime mortgages. So we'll help them develop that and run a half-day workshop for them. As far as other things that we've done to help, we have literally last week, we ran a vulnerable client workshop, and vulnerable clients is an area that we really are very keen to promote. I think out of all the providers and lenders that I've worked with in the marketplace, I don't know if anyone's got such a comprehensive program of assistance to advisors on vulnerable clients. We know the FCA are very, very keen to ensure that vulnerability is considered in every case, and that vulnerable clients are treated in the way that they deserve and need to be treated. We've actually got a vulnerable client module, which we've put together with the Society of Later Life Advisors as well, which is a free module. So an advisor can go online, they can register for it. It's about 40 minutes to an hour. There is a test at the end, so it is fully CPDable, and actually you do come out with a certificate in advising vulnerability in later life as well. So there is a tangible benefit of coming out, and I think we've had approximately it's in the thousands. We've had thousands of people register and take part in that, and some of my firms actually have mandated it for all of their staff, because it is a really, really good topic. So right now, the need to service and support advisors hasn't gone away. And there's a number of things that we are doing right now that you've got access to, or any of the advisors on this have got access to. And there will be more things that will be coming up. And if you're happy, then if we've got something, and we'll discuss about this before it goes anywhere wider, John, but if you are happy and you've got something that you think is useful for the people using AdviceWise, then if you want to forward on our emails, then you can really, really help.
Thanks, Matt. As you say, from my viewpoint, and as you say, you've done a lot of work on the vulnerable customer, and I think, you know, we all know that's an essential part of the role of advice and within the legal side. So I think that's really important, the work doing there. And say we will be following up on a webinar on that in, I think, 4 to 5 weeks. We're hoping the end of the month, aren't we? Yeah.
So sorry, John. Just to add, actually, I've just thought we have actually just launched a new initiative this week as well. So this one is fairly fresh. And this is for where clients are selling a property because the customer has either passed away or gone into long-term care, with, I suppose, the shutdown of the housing market. That's generally going to mean that it's going to take longer for people to actually dispose of that property to realise and redeem the lifetime mortgage. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to reduce any interest payable for a 3-month period backdated to the 26th of March, which will mean that clients will have generally a reduction of hundreds of pounds to how much they would need to redeem that, because the market, I suppose, not grinding to a halt, but the restrictions in the market have meant it's harder to actually sell your property right now. So we are doing more and more things to cover the current environment to help customers. Sorry to interject.
No. And I think because as you rightly said, as new opportunities arise, it's absolutely that as important as ever that we're all working on the vulnerable customer side, and the vulnerability programs offered are essential. Okay, thanks, Matt. Let's just have a look at. I'm always really keen that we don't make these product pushing webinars, because you can go anywhere to get that. But I think what I would like to do is talk about some of probably and for me, some of the important products that you're offering. And the first one is, when Jane gets a lot of queries on this, is the medically enhanced. So I'd be keen. I'm sure a lot of you know about this and the ins and outs of it, but I think it's worth just running over that for us, Matt, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
That is something, and sorry, I will add there, something we're working on to get the medically enhanced on. We do have one of the lenders on the medically enhanced, which is Aviva. We're working on the just one at the moment. So that will be on the platform sooner rather than later. But sorry, Matt. So yeah, over to you on if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, no, thanks, John. Yeah, medically enhanced. I mean, it is quite an important part, actually. I think right now, with the current environment that we find ourselves in and the restriction on products. So what we have seen, certainly over the last month or so, we have seen a reduction in the initial advances that lenders are able to give, and we have seen reductions in loan to values as well. Just to give you a very brief idea of how medical enhanced works, it will give you access to enhanced loan to values depending on your personal medical or lifestyle situation. So we use medical underwriting to provide an analysis of your medical age versus, say, your birth age. So if that makes sense. So if you have some medical conditions that would shorten your life expectancy, then actually you will have a higher medical age than your birth age. And we use a number of different factors. It is probably the broadest underwriting in lifetime mortgages. And we'll look at factors like your height and weight. So if you have a higher body mass index, then actually that can help towards an enhancement on your loan to values. Things like alcohol consumption, high blood pressure, things that you would normally see in day-to-day life. And we'll also look at things like strokes and heart conditions, cancers, diabetes, and a number of different medical conditions that would be fairly obvious to work out that actually if they are going to impact your life expectancy, then actually that does increase your medical age versus your real true age. So I suppose in essence, what that allows you to do is that allows you to potentially borrow the levels of lending or borrowing that you would have previously had access to before lenders started to reduce criteria.
Can I ask a specific question? There's a few questions coming in, and John, I think we'll take yours offline. That's a specific application, so I'll talk with Matt and get Matt to give you a call offline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just briefly on these, Matt, let's ask those questions. Are you looking to increase the timescale to sell the property should the client die or go into care? I know that's more of a general question. I'm not sure if there's an answer to that.
I think right now we're looking at everything. We've addressed part of that issue because we know that with the current state of the housing market, it will generally take longer. So we implemented the change that I mentioned earlier this week. We backdated it to the 26th of March, which I believe was pretty much the start of the lockdown. And we've got an initial 3-month period on that. So we might not lengthen it. I'm not sure. Everything is open to review, but we are starting to look at the issues that our customers will face and how we can help them get through this point. So I think right now, I don't think anything's off the table. The fact that we've come up with that initiative this week, and I think we're the only lender to have actually started to address these things, I think that probably does give you an idea that, yeah, if things do need that, then we're happy to consider them.
Okay. One specific on the medical enhancement, Derek, and this is a very good question. Are you still going for GP reports in this current climate?
That's a very good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Now, I think initially when the COVID-19 environment happened, we actually withdrew from any really GPR requests because we didn't want to put any additional stress on surgeries at a time when people, in the NHS, there would be a lot more pressure on them. So we made a fairly early decision to not go for GPRs, general practitioner reports. What we would do though instead of that is we still would need to prove someone's medical situation. So if you are going to use a medical enhancement with us, we still do need to evidence and prove that someone has the severe conditions that might be giving them access to the loan to values that they need. The way we do that is we would ask for a copy of, say, a client's repeat prescription. That will give us most of the information we need. If that doesn't satisfy the information, then we would say to any client, any customer, are you able to obtain or provide to us any medical letters? And that will take the place of a general practitioner's report. And so, and we do also know that even pre-COVID-19, the GPRs could take a bit of time to come in. So this actually should even shorten the process, as well as making sure that medical enhancements can still be conducted. Does that answer the question?
I think that answers pretty comprehensively. Thank you very much. So you're comfortable on the medical. Can I just move on then to one more? I talked about we are going to be, well, we have now launched on the platform an interest served product, and even from my viewpoint, when a lot of you know me, I've ran distribution for various lenders, and the last lender I was at, we did launch an interest only, and it did or interest served, and very often it came back that we're using we're going to be using the 10% overpayments as your interest served, and that's a good challenge to me. Even though there was I won't talk about the answers I give, Matt, but I'm very keen to you've told me it's a pretty popular product choice with Just, so really interested to understand your take on the interest served product and where you see it fits, and again, I think opportunities. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, the interest service is something that we brought into our product range and is an option on every single one of our products. So it's not a separate product. If you have any need for a Just lifetime mortgage and you have a rate, you are able to service that interest. And I suppose at the end of the day, if a client has access to additional funds somehow, or they've got income and they want to service that interest, it's probably the best advice. I'm not sure there are any areas of financial services, if you have the means or the ability to, you shouldn't service debts. So I think that's the first thing. So is it best practice? Well, yes, if there is the ability and the means to, it is best practice. But it allows customers, I suppose, the discipline of doing it. Because we also get clients that say, oh, no, well, we can use the 10% ERC free overpayments every year to help our client manage that debt. And clients like to know that they can reduce the overall cost of borrowing if they can. But in our experience, whilst clients like that ability, do they actually ever do it? I mean, it's quite difficult. Well, it might be quite difficult for some clients to actually write a fairly sizable check to keep on paying off their outstanding mortgage balance. So what the interest service does is it allows clients, I suppose it gives them the discipline, because it's coming out of their bank every month. And so therefore it's harder to miss. Once you've got that set up, then psychologically after a while you don't start to miss it. So I think the discipline really, really helps. But the biggest key feature that we've got on our interest servicing is if you are servicing that interest, you will get a rate reduction. So we actually will reward the behavior of someone paying off or servicing their interest. So that is unlike an ERC-free overpayment, which of course I know does manage the compound interest or reduces the impact of compound interest and will control that outstanding mortgage balance. But if you are servicing interest with us, and that could be from £25 up to all of the interest. So there are, you don't have to pay it all. You can pay some of it as long as it's a minimum of £25. Then you will get a rate reduction of between 1 basis point, which might not seem a lot, but still will have an impact, up to 30 basis points. And if you are going to service all of the interest, to have a 30 basis point reduction on your overall rate can be a significant way of controlling your debt and managing your overall cost of borrowing. Now, what that actually does mean, of course, at the end of the day, when you come to redeem, is you are increasing your potential of having more money left as a legacy for the inheritance.
So profile-wise, the customer, is there a particular profile? And I suppose from my viewpoint, is the opportunity there then with the mortgage customer coming through? Is that what they're more used to? Maybe I don't.
Yeah, I think that's probably the obvious one, actually, John. And when we launched this product last year, then we at the same time we reduced all of our products to the minimum age of 55. And I think that does go hand in hand with the profile of someone who has got current levels of debt and who is currently servicing, because they will be used to servicing that debt and they will be used to that income coming out. So what you'll find with our product is, you're absolutely right. Is it an alternative to a retirement interest only mortgage? Probably so, because you'll have clients from the conventional world who are used to either paying or having a capital and repayment, or just an interest only mortgage. So I think that's probably the first profile. Where we've also seen a lot of use is for the aspirational clients. And those are the clients who I suppose have got a property wealth, and they want to either help their family at this point as opposed to waiting until they inherited it upon death, or it's intergenerational wealth transfer. So from a traditional profile of a lifetime mortgage equity release client, which I think if you go back a few years was generally going to be that point of distress, the need to have to do equity release, the interest servicing product has opened up and broadened our client bank and now includes more people who want to do it because they see it is actually part of a more holistic financial services strategy. And I mean, dare I say, I do think now with people being furloughed and family members being furloughed, if you have a grandparent, say, as an example, a grandparent who has an unencumbered property that could be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, and they can see their children or grandchildren struggling for a specific or undetermined period of time, then actually that might be a trigger point for them to say, actually, I can help you out now. I know your income has reduced quite dramatically. I've got property wealth here. I could use that for good at a point where I can see it being used, as opposed to at the end of my life or past death. So we've seen it really open up the independent financial advisor marketplace, and those wealth managers are now seeing it as a way of redistributing or intergenerational wealth transfer is, I suppose, the phrase that they would use. Yeah. So it has opened up not just new clients, it's actually enabled us to assist people on managing their overall cost of borrowing.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. And I think that leads on for me to, joining us next week for the, looking at the business generation, because again, we'll be talking on the legal side about LPAs and wills, but also on the, we will be looking then at the wider business income generation side, and this will definitely form part of that. Thanks, Matt. I suppose finally, just to again thank you very much for all attending. It really appreciate it. I know there's so many webinars and information out there. So hopefully it's of use to you all, and and hopefully we'll continue doing that. And as I mentioned to you, do let us know if there's any specific topics you really like us to look at. If I can try and get out there and find the speakers, then we'll do that. So I'll just finish on the interest served. As you say, we put on the system now it's the J2 in the range from just age 60. From age 60, headline rate's 3.7, but as Matt has said, if the customer pays, that reduces by up to 0.3, and via the club it's free survey, so no valuation fee.
Yes.
And no arrangement fee. So for the right customer, I think that's that's worth looking at. But further information, old Jane Hanlon's there. I shouldn't say old; she'll be in trouble now for saying that. really trouble. But Jane's there. Please use Jane. Her knowledge is second to none, as Matt has said. So thank you very much, and hopefully you'll join us next week. And Matt, thank you very much for your time, and really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for being with us today.
Stay safe.
Take care all. Keep well.